Is there anybody in wrestling that you don't like?
Ever get real in the ring?
Escalating and even actual arguments with other wrestlers. Today, we'll talk about the top 5 wrestlers that The Undertaker.
Number 5, CM Punk. CM Punk was in the midst of a fantastic world title reign in 2009, but his championship run came to an abrupt end at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Punk would be defeated by The Undertaker, and the reason for Punk dropping that title was because the dead man used his backstage power to halt Punk's push. Taker took offense to the way Punk dressed, and the dead man believed that if Punk was going to be the world champion, he would have to change the way he looked.
You are about to enter the domain of The Undertaker. A place where there is no forgiveness.
Jim Ross actually confirmed the story in 2009 on a blog post on his website jrsbarbecue.com, where he wrote, "Crazy email. CM Punk lost the world's title because of a, quote, dress code violation. Please stop the pain." Undertaker ended up winning what was basically a glorified squash match against the straight-edge Messiah. And for Punk, it would take 5 long years before the two would square off again. And that would be at WrestleMania 2013, where Punk would lose again, which Punk wasn't happy about either. That's a story for a different video. Number 4, Brock Lesnar. Even after being strapped to a rocket by Vince McMahon and becoming the youngest champion in WWE history,
Pay the proper respect for the new WWE champion, ladies and gentlemen, Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar left the WWE in 2004 to attempt a career in the NFL with the Minnesota Vikings. He gave it the old college try but wasn't able to sustain any kind of momentum and was released shortly thereafter. It was there that UFC and Dana White took a chance on Brock, and he rewarded. We all know that Vince McMahon can hold a grudge, and he decided to send his top soldier, The Undertaker, to pick a fight with Brock Lesnar at one of his main events. UFC president Dana White commented on the situation.
Listen, this is the story. Him and Brock have some beef, and Brock walked by him, and he said something to him, and it blew up into that whole thing that happened. Undertaker
ran into beloved sports media journalist Ariel Helwani, where he took part in a short interview with him after Brock's fight. It was mid-interview that he stopped Brock Lesnar, who was walking past, and asked, "Do you want to do this?" Brock Lesnar kept it moving, but that lit a fire in the media world. And since Ariel Helwani was there, he asked him what he had said. Undertaker responds, "It's personal."
You just say to him. It's kind of a personal thing.
Brock left the WWE high and dry after them making him their new golden boy. And then, ultimately, they had to settle for John Cena. Undertaker was one of the wrestlers that made Brock. Now it was time for The Undertaker to collect his toll, which wouldn't happen for a few years, as Dana White did not want to blur the lines. Number 3, Shawn Michaels. The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels engaged in the first ever Hell in a Cell bout at the 1997 pay-per-view Bad Blood. The two hadn't encountered each other in the ring before, and although he was a fantastic performer, Undertaker was also aware of his use and poor character defects. The Undertaker did not trust the sexy boy.
He's a boy toy, he's a sexy boy.
And Shawn Michaels was frequently seen backstage employing political tactics to get his way and refused to put anyone over in matches.
Undertaker, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, lays down for absolutely no one.
Which led to an extremely tense backstage scene during WrestleMania 14.
I'll just put it this way, if it hadn't have been done the way it was done, it would have been probably been a very long night for Shawn Michaels.
As The Undertaker reached a point where he was prepared to resort to violence.
As soon as Taker was finished, he went back, he taped his fists, sat right down at gorilla position, and watched the monitor watch Shawn drop the title to Austin. And provided everything went the right way, that was all that was going to happen. And as soon as 1, 2, 3, ding, 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 he stood up, started pulling his tape off, and went and changed.
His animosity for HBK was so strong that he would become enraged if he had to spend any time outside the ring with the Click Commander. The two competed in what is regarded as the greatest match in WrestleMania history, and maybe the best match ever, in 2009 at WrestleMania 25. Although they hold each other in high regard, things weren't always like this. On a personal level, Shawn Michaels and I have completely changed from where we were back then to who we are now. Contrary to what The Undertaker revealed in 1997, Michaels offered his own explanation for the divergent perspectives, contending that they were just two incredibly unique personalities that had a profound impact on professional wrestling, and through mutual respect, eventually developed into close friends. Number 2, The Big Show.
Taker looked at me and goes, "Yeah, that's some advice. We should take 2 weeks off and put the business."
It appears The Undertaker and Big Show now have a mutual respect for one another. Big Show in particular has stated that the dead man has been a significant mentor to him in terms of wrestling and WWE strategy, yet they have a large number of conflicts in the past. Prior to joining the WWE, Paul White didn't put the necessary effort in during his early years back in WCW. Hulk Hogan first saw him, immediately saw dollar signs due to being comparable to Andre the Giant. Eric Bischoff
had to discipline Big Show. I think sometimes his motivation lacks. In a matter of 30 seconds, once the match started, he was completely out of shape and couldn't catch his wind. He was hanging on the ropes, and that bothers me not to put forth the effort to keep yourself in shape.
During WWE, but in WWE, it would take much more. He had ego problems as well because he never had to pay his dues. Big Show went on to talk about his relationship with The Undertaker by saying, I tried to avoid The Undertaker by going to the right instead of up the ramp because he had that one long crooked finger. And on our live tours, I'd come up through that gorilla position after a match versus him, and he'd be waiting for me. He'd wave me over and chew on my backside for the next 15 minutes. This kept happening, and because I tend to be a little more stubborn than most, it took me a long time, and it seemed like I could never do anything right. A lot of what I learned through The Undertaker has put me in a position where I can now really help a lot of people from making the same mistakes that I did. There was the guy who cursed me out whenever I did something wrong. Nobody knows who the Big Show is, and he would be one of the men yelling at me about it.
Those trunks that I have my name on the trunks, I only had that pair of trunks one time. Him and a bunch of other guys made fun of me for putting my name on my ass, like nobody knows who the Big Show is.
Number 1, Sting.
I just told him, I said, man, I've always wanted to have that match. It wasn't necessarily reciprocated.
We talk about dream matches that never happened in wrestling. Undertaker vs. Sting always pops up. On one side, you have the embodiment of WWE, and the other side, you have the embodiment of WCW. Both were icons during the 90s, but since they stayed loyal to their respective companies, a clash between the two never happened. There were 2 times that it was a very real possibility, in 2011 and when Sting finally debuted in WWE in 2014. There were some serious negotiations, but for unknown reasons why, Sting ultimately decided to sign with TNA for another 3 years, and all seemed lost forever. But Sting finally turned up in WWE thanks to WWE's partnership with 2K, and they struck a deal to make him a playable character in that year's game.
We had a brief conversation, so I'm not sure where he stands or what, if he had any interest at all, to be quite honest. But I did. I don't mind saying.
Apparently, Vince signed him to a contract under the belief that it would be all systems go for a Sting and Undertaker match at WrestleMania 31. Unfortunately, just a month before those events, plans were quickly scrapped. Sting has done many interviews talking about a potential match with The Undertaker, and boy, was he pushing hard for a few years there.
I had a dream match. It was against Taker. It never did happen. Yeah, I wish I could have had that.
And The Undertaker has been asked the question, but always changes the topic real quick. When being pressed, he said,
That's kind of, obviously our audience, like, oh, well, his character did this and your character did that. I mean, that's where it really kind of started to steamroll once he came up here and did a few shots for us. Yeah, there were never like, we weren't calling each other and saying, hey, man, we got this, super match, mega match kind of deal going on. It just, my schedule was always, there was always guys waiting.
If Taker calls you up tomorrow to do the match there, he's not going to